In this video, we are going to look at long division. So long division is a way to divide a large number by one or more digits. We refer to division problems as having three parts. We have the dividend, which is the number you are dividing, or the number that you start with, is the way that I like to think of it. The divisor is the number you are dividing by, or how many groups you need to make from the dividend. And the quotient is the amount in each group, or it's your answer. So if we look at a specific division problem, we have 8 divided by 4 equals 2. We would use this using mathematical symbols by writing 8. Here's our division sign. 4 equals 2. Now, if we were using a long division setup, we would have 8 within our little house here. 4, our divisor goes on the outside, and our quotient goes up top. Now, our dividend, one way you can remember where the dividend goes, or the number that you start with, is that the dividend is inside the house. And I know that's kind of a stretch, but it seems to help me remember it. So the dividend is inside the house. And the divisor is our visitor. It comes to the front door. And then our quotient is just our answer. I don't have a good one to help you remember that. So our dividend is the number that we start with. It's not always the biggest number, so we need to be careful with that. We can't just say the dividend is the big number in the question, because it's not always going to be that way. The divisor is the number that we are dividing by, so 8 divided by 4, or 8 divided into 4 groups. And each group is going to have 2 inside, and that is going to be our quotient, or the answer to our division problem. So an easy way to think about division is to say, does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? And the answer is yes. Does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? Well, how does that help you with division? It helps you remember the steps. When we're dividing, once we've set up our problem, the first step is to divide. Then we will multiply, subtract, check our answer, and bring down the next digit. And we are going to do some examples with this together. On a lined piece of paper, I do want you to use a full sheet of paper, because on the back side, you are going to do 9 mathematical problems by yourself to practice these. So I want you to make sure that you write down, does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? And write down the symbols that go along with those. So at this time, I want you to pause the video and copy down these notes to help you as we move forward. Now, using our steps, we have does, division, McDonald's, multiply, serve, subtraction, cheese, check, and B, burgers, bring down our next digit. So if we have 125 divided by 5, now I know many of you are going to be able to do that one just in your head, but I don't want you to. I want you to walk through the steps so that you are familiar with long division as we move forward and get more complicated with these problems. So we have 125. That is the number that we're starting with. That is going to be our dividend divided by the divisor, number 5, equals, we don't have our quotient yet. So our dividend goes inside of the house. 5 is our divisor, our visitor. It's going to come knock on the door, knock, knock. And then we are going to work through this problem together. By creating a Google drawing. All right, so for our first example, we have 125 divided by 5 equals question mark. At this moment, we don't know what that is. So what we are going to do, I'm going to go ahead and pull up a scribble and work through these problems up here. So we have, does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? That should be on your note paper. It's going to sit right here so that we can see this as we work through our problem. because again, this is going to get more complicated later. So we want to make sure that we use the appropriate steps now when it is easy enough for us to make sure we have the right answer without being too stressed out about it. So we have does is our first step. So does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? The answer is yes, but we are going to divide first. So division. So we look at our very first digit of our dividend. We're going to go left to right, and we're going to start with 1. So we are going to divide first. 1 divided by 5. Can I do that? If I have 1 apple, can I divide that amongst against 5, amongst 5 friends or between 5 friends? I cannot. So I need to move to my next digit too. So I have 12. 12 divided by 5. If I have 12 apples, how many groups could I make? Well, 12 divided by 5, the closest that I'm seeing, thinking about it off the top of my head, is 10. So I'm going to go ahead and write 10 here. I'm sorry. 2. Sorry. I can make 2 groups of 5. So 12 divided by 5, I can make 2 division groups. Then I'm going to multiply to see how many of those apples I've actually used. So 2 times 5 gives me 10. And this is where I have my 10. Next step is to subtract. So I've only used 10 of the 12 apples that I'm trying to divide. I can't just get rid of those 2. So I need to subtract. So 12 divided by 10 is 2. Now I'm going to check and make sure that I couldn't make another group of 5, and I cannot. So now I'm going to move down to burgers, which is bring down. So I haven't used this 5 yet. I still have to divide that as neatly as I can. So I'm going to write 5 down below. And then I need to go back to the top. I've made it through burgers. I brought down my number, and then I go back up. So division 25 divided by 5. If I have 25 apples, how many groups of 5 could I make? Or how many are going to be in each group if I have 5 apples? Well, if I count by 5s, I can count 5, 10, 15, 20. The line didn't show up there. 15, 20, 25. So count by 5 times. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. So 5 groups of 5. So 25 divided by 5, I get 5 groups, or 5 in each group. I check by multiplying. 5 times 5 is 25. So I've used all of those apples, thankfully. It makes my job easier. And then we subtract, make sure we have nothing left over. 25 minus 25. I have nothing left over. Check and make sure I can't make another group of 5. There's nothing left to bring down. So I've made it through all of my digits, and my answer is going to be 25. Now, let's do another example. Okay, now we're going to look at another example. So if we have the number 9,543 divided by 3, what does that equal? Well, 9,543 is going to be my dividend. So I'm going to put it inside the house. 3 is my divisor. It's my visitor. It's going to go on the outside. It's knocking at the door, coming to visit. And I don't know my answer. That's going to be my quotient. Right here is where we're going to write our answer. So let's go through the same steps. Let me pull up my scribble tool again. And we are going to answer the question, does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers? So now we want to check, or we want to go through each step. So first step is division. Does, division. We start with our first digit, 9 divided by 3. How many groups can I make? 9 apples shared by 3 friends. I'm going to get 3. And if you don't know, there's no reason you can't add on the side of your paper. We are not going to use calculators right now, but you can add on the side of your paper. You can count by threes, whatever you need to do. You can draw little pictures. Sometimes that helps if you draw some little dots here. It's going to be easier for you to do on your piece of paper, but you can draw some dots. So if I have 1, 2, 3 groups, or if I have 9 dots, how many groups of 3 can I make? Well, I laid it out pretty neatly here, but I have 1, 2, 3 rows of 3. So 9 divided by 3, I get 3 apples in each group. So now I'm going to multiply to check and make sure I've done my math correctly. So 3 times 3 is 9. How many apples have I used total? I've used 9 of them. Now I go down to serve, which is subtract. So I'm going to subtract 9 minus 9, which gives me 0. Now in this one, I have no apples left. So I have to make sure that I bring this down. I check and make sure I can't make another group, and I cannot. So I bring down my 5. So now I have 5 apples divided between 3 friends. I can give each person at least 1 apple. So 1 times 3 means I've only used 3 of the apples. So then I subtract 1 times 3 equals 3. I subtract and I get 2 left over. I can't make another group. So I bring down my 3. I have to make sure I use all of the digits from my dividend up here. Otherwise, I haven't divided my number out completely. So 23 divided by 3. How many groups can I make with this? Well, again, we can count by threes, or if you are good with your math facts, 3 times 6 is going to be 18. 3 times 7 is going to be 21. 3 times 8 is too many. It's 24. So I can only have 7 groups. Oh, and I'm sorry, I brought down the wrong number. That's why it is so important to make sure that you draw these lines and that you do your math as neatly as possible. When I bring down this 4, then the answer is going to be different. 24 divided by 3. So again, I can think through my math facts. 24 apples divided by 3 friends. They can at least get 8 apples, so they're going to be pretty full here. 8 apples. 8 times 3 equals 24. And don't feel bad if you have to stop and do your math on the side of the paper. That's okay. I just want to make sure you guys are familiar with the steps for this. So 24 minus 24 means I have 0 left over. Again, I'm going through my steps. 8 times 3 gave me 24. Then I subtract, and I have 0. So now I'm going to use my 3. And again, make sure you're doing your work as neatly as possible so that you don't miss out on a digit like I did a minute ago. 3 apples divided by 3 friends. Each friend gets 1 apple. So let's check it all by doing multiplication. Continue our steps. We did our division. Multiplication. 1 times 3 is 3. Then I'm going to subtract. My number disappeared. 3 minus 3 is 0, and I have nothing left over. I can't bring down any more digits. So my answer is going to be 3,181. 3,181. So again, you're just going to move through each step: division, multiplication, subtraction, check it, and then bring down your next digit. Bring down your next digit. So now what I want you to do is do some practice. And if you are in class, you are welcome to work through a couple with our substitute or with the teacher. You can work through a couple with a friend, but I do want you to make sure that you can do these by yourself. I'm only giving you 9 questions, but make sure you have a lined piece of paper. Your name should be at the top. I would like for your notes and preferably the examples that we just worked on together to be on that paper. And on the back side, I want you to number 1 through 9. Give yourself some space in between to work through each one of these digits. Now, I'm going to walk you through our first one just to make sure we're feeling good about this. And if nothing else, you at least get number 1 right. So we'll walk through and we'll do 4,050 divided by 2. Our dividend, which is inside our house, the number we start with is 4,050. We're going to divide by 2. We're going to move back over to our example problems so that I can kind of write this information out. And again, I want you to keep your notes next to you so that you can walk through those steps. But again, we start with our first digit, and that's 4. So 4 divided by 2, division. 4 divided by 2. I have 4 apples. How many groups of 2 can I make neatly? 2. 2 times 2 equals 4, multiplication. And then I subtract to see how many I have left over. 4 minus 4 gives me 0. I check. I cannot make another group of 2, so I'm good there. And then I'm going to bring down my next digit, which is 0. Now, this one's a little bit tricky because I can't do anything here. Now, I can't bring down another digit until I put in a placeholder here. So I have to put a 0 here because if I bring down my number and then I move up to division, I can't divide 0 by 2. If I have 0 apples, I can't share those with 2 people. So each person's going to get 0 apples. So I have to make sure that I fill in that piece. If I subtract, I'm going to 0 minus 0. I'll have nothing left. So I'm just going to go ahead and bring down my next digit. But I can't do that until I put my placeholder here. So I'm going to bring down my 5. 5 divided by 2. If I have 5 apples and I share them with 2 people, I can make 2 nice, neat groups. Move to my multiplication. 2 times 2 is 4. After multiplication, I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. Check. I can't make another group from that, so I need to bring down my next number, which is a 0. Now I have 10 apples again. 10 divided by 2. If I have 10 apples and share them with 2 people, each person is going to get 5 apples. 5 times 2 is 10. Again, I'm just moving through those steps. Division, 10 divided by 2 is 5. Then 5 times 2 is my multiplication. Then I subtract 10 minus 10. I have 0. I have nothing left that I can divide out here. I have no digits left to bring down. So that's all for my math problem. My answer is going to be 2,025. Now, when you work on this assignment, your work should look just like this. I want to see your arrows. I want to see where each digit goes. I want to see your subtraction signs. Oh, I missed one right here. And then circle your answer so that we can make sure that we all are following the same steps. And I can help you understand or help kind of identify any gaps or spots where we are making our mistakes. So go ahead and work through the rest of those problems on a lined piece of paper. You are not going to do this online because it is challenging. So when you are finished, you are going to turn your paper into the tray. If you are in class, you are going to turn it into the very bottom purple tray by the sink. Very bottom tray by the sink. If you have any questions, your substitute can certainly help you, or your teacher. So please make sure that you reach out and ask for help. I want you to feel really comfortable with this process.